Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Boom! Whoa, what is that? There is something happening, and it's a brand new song. It's going to be a great hit. Hello there, and welcome to Dharma Science Radio Celebrity Analysis. My name is Ian, and I enjoy talking about the human design system for the purpose of consciousness expansion and the transformation of human awareness. For I believe we can truly learn through joy, and we do not need to learn through as much suffering as we have when we look into the past. Essentially, we inherited a set of survival paradigms and survival strategies from our ancestors. And while they are deeply valuable, they allowed us to survive this long and dominate the material plane, become the #1 top dog here on planet Earth, human being, able to kill anything. And I believe there are greater heights even than that for us as humans. And that primarily comes down to the individual being and the ability to transform our consciousness into a higher and more expanded order. It allows us to see that no longer is this material world the #1 most important thing when we can actually share in awareness and approach communion, which is when I'm sharing my truth, you are sharing your truth, and together we are enriched by diving into the truth. And so without further ado, we'll hop right into this chart. You see, we have Elvis Presley right here. He's a 3-5 emotional generator aura type. And so one thing we know about the 3-5 is that the 3-5 is here to click into their desires. They're here to lock into something, and they're here to learn on this material plane through what's called, quote, trial and error, unquote. This means that they have that capacity to really attune to the material world and to make their own mistakes, to push the boundaries to the limit and find where things do or don't actually work in the most attuned way to this physical world. They're difficult to influence from other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions, influences. And that's in the conscious personality, which we're seeing here in the 54th and the 53rd gate. So we're seeing this need for ambition, and we're seeing new beginnings. We're seeing a beginning of a new ambition coming through the materialistic trial and error. And in the unconscious, we see the 51 and the 57 in the 5th line. So not only is this person bouncing and bumping into things and causing problems and solving problems, in the unconscious, people expect great things from them. And from a distance, it's easy to see great things from them because they not only have a strong and powerful intuitive knowing, they got good instincts in a sense. They also have this need to jump into the unknown, because these instincts and this drive from the ego to jump into the unknown and to be the first is in the unconscious. It's not something the personality can easily identify with. It's something that's simply happening in the unconscious, and the personality is here to watch, whoa, okay, this is what we're doing now. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? And the key here with this 5th line in the unconscious is that they're receiving positive expectation from other people. If you didn't notice, Elvis Presley became one of the biggest music stars in our history. And this 5th line has a lot to do with that because it influences strangers. It's not about close personal friends and family. It's not only about himself. It's about how others put expectations on him, and does he have the ability to deliver on those expectations or not? And so when I look a little farther down, are these nodal configurations in the unconscious and in the conscious. They're both in the 6th line. This 6th line is the role model. So the environment this person is meant to exist within is a role modeling environment. Whether that be a role model of the 31 about having influence over others, whether that's the 41 even exalted about their desires and their fantasies, whether that be the 56, which is all about the linking of continuity through movement. It's also about beliefs and the need for stimulation, this like, I need to be stimulated, give me stimulus. And it's about the 60, which is also exalted, which is about one's limitations and the ability to accept one's limitations and work with them. So we're seeing a powerful role modeling environment about this need to bring ambition into the world because there is a new order that's coming afoot. And this person is intuitively aligned to be one of the first to jump into this new way. So doesn't that sound beautiful, And yet part of the trial, part of the challenge is that we're dealing with all these undefined open centers. And these undefined and open centers tend to become the dominating force in the life. When a person is listening to everything their mind tells them, when they take their mind seriously, then what happens is fundamentally these open and undefined centers become the most attractive thing in the world, and it's what one tends to identify with. This is part of those survival strategies I mentioned earlier that we inherited from our ancestors. Over here in this undefined heart, this undefined ego center, this is all about receiving validation and approval from others, and this need to improve upon oneself. So we could say that it is most likely the case everything Elvis ever did was simply to receive approval from others. It was all because when others are looking at him as if he's this amazing role model and a rock star, it feels good. I receive that positive attention from others, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I like. There's thousands of eyes upon me, and I'm simply singing my song and doing my jam. And he really, really got a lot of satisfaction from that, I'd have to guess. Over here in this undefined G center, this is all about looking for love and direction outside of oneself. Now, if I was more well-versed in Elvis's musical catalog, I may be able to pick out specific songs of his, and perhaps if you are, let me know down in the comments if you see any songs where it's like, you are my love, you give me direction, don't leave me, I need to hold on to you because you are the direction in my life and you are the most incredible and wonderful things, and I'm sure of it. Let me know if there's any kind of songs like that from Elvis, because I'm really not sure. Down over here in the undefined splenic center, this is all about holding on to things that are bad for you. This is about maintaining continuity with what is familiar instead of letting go with what is bad. So even if something is not healthy, if it's familiar, well, it's like the devil I know is worse than the devil I don't. And so they hold on to the bad thing, if we're listening to the mind exclusively. Over here in the throat center, this could be part of why he was such a musician. This notion of, I need to attract attention. This notion of, I need your attention. Give me attention. When I have your attention, when your eyes are on me, then I know I exist. I know I'm real. I'm here because you are paying attention to me. Up here in the Ajna center, which is actually wide open, is the nature of thinking itself. This is where conceptualization comes from. And so with a wide open ajna, this fundamentally means that he had no consistent way of seeing or thinking about the world. He could think about something this way one moment and then think about it a totally different way the next moment. And it was all about attuning, to use this third line keynote, it was all about attuning to the world around him and being able to think in a way that hopefully and ideally would provide wisdom for this world that he found himself contained within. Now up here in the head center or the crown center, this actually gave pressures to think. You know, he had his own individual truth, and over here in the 64, he had his own nature of pressure to return to things, to return to the past of, let me think about this thing again, let me think about this thing again, let me think about this thing again. This is strongly connected with confusion, because how do I actually make sense of the past? Things have happened in the past and they don't make sense. How do I make sense out of it? Well, I'm confused until it starts to make some sense, and I've returned to the past and it adds up. So those undefined center amplification themes are the fundamental force in the not-self life. When one is living from what their mind has to say and think, then those black holes of ignorance dominate the life. You know, I need to receive approval from someone. As a man, it would most likely be a woman he wanted approval from, and then he's going to find her direction in life, and then he's going to hold on to her direction because she gives him attention, and all he has to do is to pretend to be certain about something that doesn't matter. Because up here in the crown center, it's all about what does or doesn't matter. And if he can receive the validation and the attention and the love by pretending to be certain about something that doesn't matter, then he's going to keep doing that. Because, you know, it brings the satisfaction of this sacral center, because he's a generator after all. And not any kind of generator. This is a 360 format energy generator with the 5 and the 29. This is somebody who needs to bring mutation. He needs to bring some form of transformation into the energy in order to actually be satisfied. He needs to be able to say yes to the commitment, and that commitment has to involve some form of waiting. It has to involve some form of patience involved in order to wait and to witness the unfolding of this spark that comes through. You see, the 360 is a format energy in the individual circuitry, and it operates on a pulse. This is, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Boom! Whoa, what is that? There is something happening, and it's a brand new song. It's going to be a great hit. And what did his songs have to do with? My guess would be they had to do with his desires, his fantasies, his relationship to fate. His ability to recognize that his body really wants something. You see this 41 down there in the unconscious is a gate of fantasy and desire. And this 30 in his personality is about fate itself. This is part of the human experiential way. And this is the drive of fantasy going in to meet with fate. This is, you get what you get, not necessarily what you want. And so perhaps a lot of his songs had to do with this nature of having a desire and then life giving what it gives. And perhaps even what that feels like as an emotional being, because he's got this 55 and the 49 over here in the solar plexus as well. So there's this nature of the individual human spirit of the 55. Was he able to express his abundance or not? And the 49, did he express his principles? His ability to say, this is okay, this is not okay, this goes over here, that goes over there. This is how we distribute the energy. And now, as another element that I believe Keeley was part of his need to be a famous musician is this first gate right here. This first gate is purely made up of yang masculine lines in the Chinese I Ching. This is purely masculine energy. This is the need to express oneself as a unique contribution to the whole. You know, I have my expression. This is what I'm here to say, and now I hope you listen to me because I have something to say. I have something to contribute. I. And this is a force Elvis was dealing with, that he was born with, and it was his only consistent element of his direction in life, is that I have a unique contribution to make. And he's got that 31. He's here to make influence. He's here to influence other people through his communication, because he's got the 62. He's got details about things that he can share. And he has this 56 about stimulation and about his beliefs. How does he use his beliefs and his details and his influence to gather attention from other people, to receive that validation, to find that love, and to hold on to something that ultimately doesn't really matter? And yet he found his satisfaction in one place or another. I would at least have to hope so. Because if he was not finding his satisfaction, then he existed in frustration. And I personally highly doubt his music would have been so proliferous. I doubt that his music would have made such a big impact if he was purely frustrated the whole time. From what I've heard and can remember of his music, he sounded pretty satisfied. And you see, that's the thing. If you're a generator or a type, if you can find your signature vibration, if you can find your satisfaction, that's what you're here to be in this life, because you are generating reality in a satisfied format. And since 70% of the population is a generator, if we can generate some more satisfaction, then we have truly done the work we are here to do. You know, about 30% of people on this planet are not generators. They're the projectors, the manifestors, and the reflectors. And they have to fundamentally deal with what the generators are doing. And the generators are either generating a field of satisfaction, you know, this feels good, this feels easeful, envelop within my field and become part of this satisfaction. Or they're generating frustration. You know, gears grinding and not really turning in a good way, and every little thing is, I'm having trouble moving to the next step, and I really can't do this right, and on and on and on and on and on. And those other 30% of the population, the projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, they tend to amplify that field. And they turn that frustration into bitterness, into anger, and into disappointment. Unless we're working with satisfaction, then we can amplify satisfaction into peace, into success, into surprise. And hopefully it's even with minimal amplification. Because if we're only amplifying others, then we're most likely losing sight of our own signature vibration. Because as I mentioned earlier, there are those survival strategies from the ancestors, those open centers, and what they're here to do to our minds, our thinking process. And then there's the definitions within the body graph, such as Elvis's 360, this need for mutation to transform things into a new way, and his 4130, his relationship with fate and desire and fantasy. This wave that slowly builds and builds and builds and builds and boom, crashes all the way back down to rock bottom. So that's about all I have to say for today. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out. We can dive into one of these charts for yourself specifically and go in for over an hour and really get into all these nitty-gritty details and see the mechanisms and get in touch with, well, your satisfaction, with your success, with your peace, and with your surprise. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Take care.
If you have enjoyed the show and would like to learn more about how all of this applies specifically to you, then kindly refer to the link in this video's description, Private Consultation. Here, we can dive into all of the details together in a recorded call. May your signature vibration of satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise find you in a good way.